In an interview with Laura Ingraham on Fox News, President Donald Trump spoke about the migrant caravan that has been coming here from Central America that's currently in Mexico, and expectedly, he fearmongered about these people. And what's really upsetting is that as he tries to scare you and get you to be afraid of these people, all he's doing is espousing nothing but bullshit. It's all factless fearmongering in order to gin up support for Republicans ahead of the midterms. So this is what he had to say, and then I'm going to tell you what's really happening and who these people are when we come back.
Obama is kind of following you on the campaign trail. He was in Wisconsin.
How are his crowds?
Yeah, Wisconsin. He's going to Florida this week, and he brought up the issue of the caravan, and he said the following.
They're trying to convince everybody to be afraid of a bunch of impoverished, malnourished refugees 1,000 miles away. That's the thing that is the most important thing in this election. Not health care, not whether or not folks are able to retire. Suddenly, it's this group of folks. We don't even know where they are. They're way down there. Don't fall for that kind of fear mongering.
We're scaremongering people on the border.
Yeah. Well, he's trying to do the opposite. It's the problem with our country. When you look at that caravan and you look largely, very, big percentage of men, young, strong, a lot of bad people in there, people that are in gangs. We don't want them in this country. If they want to come into the country, you have to apply like other people. We have millions of people coming in. They're applying. They're coming in legally. We have a very strong border. I called up the military. This caravan is not, they're wasting their time. They are not coming into the country.
What's the military going to be able to do? Obama and Bush both sent the National Guard. It had no effect.
They're not me. I'm sending up the military. This is the military. And they're standing there. And one thing that will happen.
No lethal force.
When they're captured, we don't let them out.
Now, I want to read that quote again. When you look at that caravan and you look of largely very, big percentage of men, young, strong, a lot of bad people in there, people that are in gangs. We don't want them in this country. Now, what data is he using to deduce that there's a lot of people in gangs? I mean, the implication is that MS-13 has infiltrated this caravan and they're trying to make their way into the United States in order to commit crime here. And we've even seen fear-mongering from Fox News that there's Middle Easterners in this caravan. And that maybe ISIS infiltrated the caravan. I mean, it's nothing more than factless fear-mongering. And he pulled this all out of his ass. Now, originally what I was planning to do, was go through and provide you with statistical data about the, crime rates compared to, native-born Americans and immigrants. But I've done that before, and facts don't resonate with individuals who operate on the basis of their feelings and emotions. So I don't know how else to approach this situation and explain to you that these people are not criminals, but what I decided to do was something that we don't often see when we talk about these types of stories. I want to put a human face to some of those people in the caravan because, it's easy to demonize people if you think about them in the abstract, but when you really put a face to the people and you see the suffering and you let them tell their story, I think it kind of makes things a little bit more clear. So this is why they're coming here and who they are in their own words.
There are people in the U.S. that think it's irresponsible for mothers to bring children here.
We're not irresponsible, she said. Hunger is driving us out, and you have to take risks with your children. If you don't, you'll have nothing.
How long did she not eat for? A whole day.
As we were talking, a boy sat down next to her.
She's getting emotional because she just found her brother.
Families are losing track of their children in the caravan, but Vasquez is willing to take the risk.
What would it take for you to go back to Honduras? ¿Qué tomaría volver a Honduras?
No.
She said there is no turning back now. She has crossed too much ground. She has dealt with too many dangers to get this far, and she has to get to the United States.
Our message is
We're not criminals. We're coming over here because we want to work. We need a job. We need better, a better life. That's why we're here.
Do you understand that President Trump is going to use the pictures of thousands of people surging to the gates against you? He's going to point that to people and say, this is scary.
It's his politics, we respect, he's the president of the United States, and with all due respect, we are not criminals.
Donald Trump is un anticristo.
Donald Trump is an antichrist, this man says. If he doesn't repent, he's going to hell. We are not criminals. We are workers and fighters. Eventually, Mexico opens to the caravan, but only a trickle are let through, women and children first, including Marta Torres, who tells me her husband was murdered by Honduran drug gangs, and her 3 other kids are still across the river. Do you want to go to the United States? Have you heard, though, that President Trump doesn't want more people coming, and he's even separated families who try to come? What should we do now, then? She says. I don't want my kids in the middle of crime. I don't want to have the lives of my children further destroyed.
Blanca and her family had been walking since 4 a.m., one of many for whom returning to their home country would be a matter of life and death.
For Blanca, there is a serious concern that the gangs who killed her husband are going to come back for her family and the rest of them, and so it's just not safe either in their home or their city.
A rickshaw driver offered Blanca's children a ride. Another mother begged for her heat-stricken daughter to be allowed in. She was delirious and tried to get out, collapsing into my arms.
Put her in the seat. No, put her on the floor. No, it's too hot on the floor.
There was no ambulance in sight, no help.
We first saw Sergio Cáceres yesterday as the caravan reached its first major city in Mexico. We found him again today on the way out. He's paralyzed and looking for work and better doctors in the U.S.
How has this journey been in a wheelchair? ¿Cómo ha sido este camino en una silla de ruedas?
Complicado.
He says complicated.
Now, those are just some stories, and we got a few anecdotes to, let you know about the situation that they're coming from. They're fleeing violence, they're fleeing famine, and more often than not, they're coming here because they want an opportunity. And yes, they understand that currently President Donald Trump doesn't want them here. Their family might be separated at the border, they may be locked in cages, but that's still preferable to the alternative of staying. I mean, if you are from Honduras and your husband was killed by a gang and you fear for your life, you fear for the lives of your children, yeah, I think being locked in a cage in America is probably preferable. I think dealing with a xenophobic president who's going to fearmonger about you is preferable than dying. Yeah, I think most reasonable people would come to that same conclusion. Now, I'm not under the delusion that showing you their stories and, putting a face to their stories is somehow going to convince people that have already decided that they don't want these people in their country. But nonetheless, it's a lot more difficult to jump to these conspiracy theories about George Soros funding these people, or that they're coming here to vote, or that ISIS or MS-13 has infiltrated them, when you actually see these people and you hear their stories for themselves. That's important. But yet, Donald Trump will go on national television with little to no pushback from Fox News host Laura Ingraham and say, they're big, strong men. Why did he say that? Why did he say these are big, strong men? Because he wants you to be afraid. They're criminals, they're gangs, they're big, strong men that are going to come here and commit crime and maybe harm you. But look, if you're a conservative, I thought that you guys were the tough guys. It's us liberals who are the ones who should be afraid of everything. We're the ones who are beta male cucks, right? We're the ones who are soy boys. So shouldn't you guys be less afraid of immigrants than us? Why is it that people who, theoretically speaking, should be more afraid because we're weaker, why are we not afraid? It's because we have facts on our side, and it's not hard to recognize that these are people whose intentions are pure. They're not coming here to fuck you over. They are fleeing violence. Ask yourself this question. Separate those people from the issue and just ask yourself this question. In the event your death was imminent if you didn't flee and go to a different country, would you do that? You can't tell me that you wouldn't do that. That goes against basic human instinct. That goes against everything that we'd feel in the event we actually did fear for our lives. So they're not coming here to harm you, and regardless if this doesn't convince you and you still don't want them here, at a minimum, stop fear-mongering and understand where they're coming from and why they want to come here. You can still be against it, that's fine, I disagree with you, but at least acknowledge that these are not Soros paid shills coming to vote. Facts matter. And in a situation like this, where these people are harmless and powerless, demonizing them and fear-mongering about them is a different level of just disturbing and disgusting. But I mean, it's what we've come to expect from Donald Trump, who is able to weaponize issues related to immigration in order to gin up support and fire up the base. And he's doing this a lot more ahead of midterms.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.